Welcome to part 2 of my take on Insomniac's version that could be Green Goblin. Now, for starters, if you guys haven't already, please go check out part 1. Yes, it is a little bit rushed, but this one has probably been a little bit difficult to edit due to the fact that I cannot add... It's hard to add more layers. It keeps being stupid, so yeah. Okay, full in-depth conversation here. Who else feels that when it comes to Green Goblin, the theatrical and movie takes always take too much robotic sides or too much armor and stuff like that? If it's just me, then I'm going to feel very crappy. But to cut to the chase, I feel that Green Goblin works best as a threat on multiple fronts, and also being a different, more dangerous version of Peter, having more tech at his disposal, more limitless resources, and being extremely brilliant and super smart, and having the fact that we had the previous game. If you pay attention to some of the things that are shown in the both games, the science fair and in Grand Central Terminal, there's tons of potential that we could work into with this Green Goblin design, which I will be getting into more in depth right now. So, for starters, sound-based batteries. If I don't know what else to tell you other than, for Christ's sake, it makes so much sense for Norman to use that with his technology. I don't understand how you could not incorporate it. With the scales and some of the technology that I could think of, maybe he incorporates a little bit of Sable's Olympus project, which makes the most sense logically, and it's kind of underrated. Why it was like, a lot of people do not like the DLCs. I personally think that they gave us our biggest hint towards Green Goblin ever with the Olympus project, first of all. Now, maybe it's just me, but regardless. Second thing is, I see Green Goblin working similar to Syndrome, but a whole lot different and a whole lot better. Throughout the video, you'll probably see some images that are mostly screenshotted, because I had no time to edit the screenshots down, and also I did a little bit of recording using Sketchbook to better illustrate some of the technology points. So, some of the bits of the suit are a mixture of a nanotech copper triweave, which is not dangerous to Norman, but extremely dangerous to other people, because he can absorb a lot of electricity but not ever really run out of energy. He can absorb, with the sound-based batteries built into the suit, sound into energy. He can absorb electricity, or any type of that. Or if we're really going to pull a Black Panther, he has a somewhat cool bit of technology taken from Wakanda, which would be mixture of vibranium and Oscorp tech. Basically, he can absorb kinetic energy and use it as electricity, which is pretty neat. How I see it working is that with the amount of energy the suit can absorb, it gives him an extreme weakness of he can only absorb a certain amount of energy, but also he can only absorb one amount of energy at a time. So it gives him a little bit of a weakness into the suit, where basically the suit can only absorb one form of energy at a time to charge. So he can't absorb kinetic energy and then electricity. That is probably a thing that I could see forming into in a boss fight as a cool weakness, which would be pretty cool. Also, there would be tons of cool weapons built into the suit, similar to Green Goblin, who've had them lots of times in the comics and movies. The Goblin or Pumpkin Bombs would probably be changed because I did not like, even though they were prototypes, I personally didn't see the appeal of the purple look that they had in the game. I personally just didn't care for it. I didn't like it, so I figured, why not? Just like we could just change them up a bit and make them similar to a mixture of Sam Raimi's Pumpkin Bombs and the Pumpkin Bombs found in Spectacular Spider-Man. Because personally, I think it works the best, and it would be pretty neat. It gives us more of a classic Green Goblin feel, but still modernizing it and using tech. Now, in regards to the scales and throughout the suit, consider them like a fish, and also like those pillows, like I said, that I took inspiration from real life. The pillows that you can put your hand on, fold them down or up, and they would be different colors. Well, as if the suit is absorbing energy, it kind of works the same, as you'll be seeing a little bit of. The scales can take energy from the shoulder pads or the center of the suit upwards into the mask and constantly keeping him fueled. Now, doesn't matter what energy it is, it's like a constant form of travel. It's almost like mini batteries going up the suit and keeping him utterly connected, similar to like a nervous system. Because with the human body, we're constantly absorbing different things, and with our tendons and our nerves and our whatever, we're constantly vigilant and we're constantly fueled with energy. Kind of. Now we do need time to recharge, but consider the suit like a mixture of that. The scales are a big part of how I see it working. Now, in regards to how if I should give him gloves or not, personally, I didn't feel like giving him gloves. I thought pull from more the Spider-Man look. Give him like those knuckle busting things and stuff like that. Or for more grounded approach, pull from the Arkham series. The way Batman has his gauntlets and the things for his hands. The difference is maybe we can customize them and basically make them more look like the gloves that Green Goblin has in the classic comics. But there would be interwoven, basically wires, carbon mesh that can absorb electricity and also disperse it out of the fingertips. Because that was a thing I wanted to include from the classic comics. As you will be seeing, a little animated short I did on Sketchbook about some of the things that I could see. For instance, how I could see the suit working with basically the light, and also just stuff in general. For instance, between the cloth of the mask as it goes up, there is a magnetic lock in between woven into the cloth that keeps it easily on his face. While the scales are very interesting in design, how I picture the mask, and not just the in layer, the glass bit for the eyes, personally, I see the eyes feeling like the inner visor of Spider-Man's mask in a certain extent. The one thing that bothered me is that they were going for it to basically a very, robotic look. And with how I picture some things feeling, I just don't like that feel of a too robotic look. Even the inner layer of the cloth, I could see carrying a lot of copper and a lot of basically electricity, and I feel like that would, benefit Norman. Even for the heck of it, he could even harness that sound-based battery technology to disperse a giant sound blast in a certain extent. Now, back on topic about the other stuff with this design. We would still be keeping the robotic elements, but the mask would be basically woven with a special type of silk titanium, like basically a type of tri-weave that is more movable. Similar to how in Batman Arkham Knight, that type of cloth is easily movable and stuff like that. I wanted the face to feel less robotic, but it would be robotic in the inside, but look like a goblin on the outside. So I thought maybe, just maybe, he basically has the robotic side basically mixed in as like similar to Peter's mask, how the visor is more electronic in the inside, while the outside gives him more breathing room. So I figured the mask would be somewhat electronically locked into the cloth. Like, basically, think of basically how some things can be, can be still movable and stuff like that. I don't want it to feel robotic. I don't want it to feel like the Sam Raimi or that thing from someone made on Reddit, which is a great concept in retrospect, but not what I personally would want to see. I think a lot of us are sick of the overly done goblin that is like an actual goblin, or we're sick of the too much super soldier, overly armored goblin. I personally want to see a good mix, and there is ways to scientifically make that mask work without making it feel robotic or stuff like that. That is why, with my concept for the mask, I thought it'd be perfect to do a mask that is more cloth field and like a goblin, but also electronic. Basically, lack of a better word, there is like electrical components in the inside, but it's magnetically locked to the cloth. So it is very top heavy. So if he was to take off the mask, he would personally have to disengage the part connected to his neck and take it off, because the more helmet bit, the harder bit, the bit that's basically the robotic part, is basically connected to the mask, and it's not as basically felt like a complete mask as you would think. Now, that comes with its own strengths and weaknesses, but in a reveal sense, it wouldn't be like the classic comics where it's a mask that, I think it would work brilliant in a certain other sense, where mixing that cloth silk ray type weave to the mask that can be traveled in with electricity and completely can be locked and could feel real, look real. It can also be separated into parts. I think that the mask would be the top half, the bit that's like goblin-ish, that's still locked, can be locked. The mask would have this bit that's half. Like it would be middle to down, but there would be a hole up near the the top, sorry. That is where a special bit, which would be the more cloth bit, it's a more extension. With Green Goblin, he has that purple bit on the top of his head. That's what you would have. And it would basically be like a connecting point that could basically have something cool with it, like some special type of wiring in the center that he could connect to it, so he wouldn't look like the what's his name from
Spider-Man 3, the way they did that, where you would see his hair. I think that would be a cool thing where he could connect it to the mask and it wouldn't blow off or anything, because it would be, stuff like that. And some bits of the armor would be a mixture of Sable tech, Oscorp tech, and even Wakandan tech, and whatever else you can imagine, just mashed into one. I think Green Goblin's design should be a mixture of robotic and also other stuff. Like, I could even see it maybe changing. It doesn't even have to be like completely robotic in the inside. Maybe he managed to make a mask that isn't like a giant helmet, like Red Hood, like it was in that game. Maybe he could have done it like similar to Spider-Man, where the visor is somewhat like it is with that, or he could pull Batman Arkham Knight with how they did Batman's cowl in that game. There's so many ways. Personally, I just don't want it to, you know, feel off, too robotic. That's the main problem. I want it to feel realistic, have scientific stuff to explain things, but I'm no scientist. But this is just my take. Sorry if it's very confusing. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below for any explanations I can give or try to give in the comments. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and yeah, bye-bye.